What's up, everybody? Welcome back to Taste Like Music. Jason and Joe here. Album of the Week, this series in which we review albums submitted to us by our patrons over on Patreon. This week, we're talking about Super Furry Animals, their 2001 album, Rings Around the World. I don't know a ton of Super Furry Animals stuff. I'm actually, and maybe somewhat oddly, more familiar with the solo work of the frontman Gruff Reese or Griff Reese. I don't know. I've heard people on the VC call him Griff, even though it's clearly spelled Gruff. Who knows what those Welsh people are doing with their pronunciations. But I like his catalog. I know a bunch of his solo albums actually. Seeking New Gods from 2021, I actually really loved. 4.5 stars was in maybe my top 20 of the year. I like Hotel Shampoo a lot from 2011 as well. But I only know one or two Super Furry Animal albums for some reason. I listened to the Phantom Power in the 2003 Deep Dive. I've only ever been able to get to like 3.5 stars on the couple that I know of them. So I'm still waiting to find that Super Furry Animals record that lives up to his solo work for me, which may be an odd place to be in for, I think, the way most people feel about the band. But yeah, any experience with them for you?
I listened to Phantom Power for 2003 Deep Dive. I heard some of his solo albums, whatever the last one was, 2021. I thought was pretty decent. I don't know. It feels like a band that I should like a lot. And I kind of have the same experience as you. I haven't like fallen in love with anything that they've done. We'll probably explain why when we do this review.
All right. Well, this record, like we said, 2001, produced by Chris Shaw and the band. It's their fifth studio album and their major label debut. This is the one right before Phantom Power, which we've both heard. I kind of think this is the one for me, though, that kind of gets me over the hump with Super Furry Animals. I like this one a lot more than Phantom Power. Melodically, I hear a lot of Beatles and Kinks, like in the songwriting. I think if you strip these songs back to just chords and melody, and I think that would sound a lot like early '60s British rock stuff. I think they're well written songs. I think the melodies are very catchy. Sonically, it's a bit more modern sounding than that. It doesn't have like a '60s throwback sound entirely, even though they're playing with like psychedelia a little bit. The way it's mixed and stuff, to me, it sounds more like Blur and Pulp, just a bigger low end. Um, which I mean, that's maybe where the record is held back a little for me. I think it's a little bottom heavy, and I think it could use a little more clarity. I think the mixes are a tiny bit muddy and don't really let some of those great melodies pop as much as they should. But overall, I really enjoyed the songs. The first half of the record, especially, I thought was great. Then there's a little lull in the middle with A Touch Sensitive, which kind of just like a electronic kind of piece, instrumental. And then you get that kind of a noisy freak out at the end of No Sympathy, and that kind of wasn't working that well for me. And then the back half after that is okay, not as good as the first half. So I was kind of toying with 4.5, but I think it's just a very, very high 4 stars for me. But yeah, the first half of the record is fantastic. Second half is like really strong, but not great. A couple duds, and I'm not crazy about the mix. But overall, this is what I was looking for from Super Furry Animals.
Interesting. I agree with your premise that it sounds a lot like early British invasion stuff. However, all I can hear in this album is Blur and Oasis and Pulp and stuff that kind of already been done 6 years earlier, just not as successfully. Like I couldn't wrap my head around any of these melodies. I know they're catchy and they have like all the elements of things that I like, but I have no recollection of any of these songs. I don't think any of them have a hook that rises above their influences. And it's weird because like everything in this album. Like the orchestration kind of got that psychedelic Beatlesiness. He sounds a lot like Damon Albarn, has a lot of those same melodies and influences that Blur has. I hear a lot of Park Life and earlier Blur stuff. Modern Life is Rubbish, stuff like that. I hear all that stuff, and it's very kind of like zany and a little even more eccentric the way the songs move around and the different electronic elements. They throw some trip hop in there, especially No Sympathy. And I don't know, like the weird metal yelling and those bubbly synths at the end of receptacle for the receptacle for the receptacle. Kind of annoying. The weird kind of metal freakouts don't really add much to me. A lot of the time, it just sounds like they're being a little like extra zany for the purpose of being zany, without any of that stuff really adding anything to the songs. And I don't know, to me, it just seems like the whole album was less than the sum of the parts. Like all the songs were moderately catchy and interesting. And at the end of the day, I don't remember anything about them, and none of them stuck with me. Maybe the last two, Run Christian Run, a little more downcast. I got some trippy stuff, a big kind of guitar. Not really a solo. It's not that interesting, but it's not the end of the world. It has some cool like Tonto sounding synth stuff and a nice melody. But again, I just was left with a feeling of why aren't I liking this more? Because it has all the stuff that Daddy likes, but it just never quite came together for me. So I don't dislike it, but it's stuck at 3.5 stars for me.
I mean, I can kind of see that. That's how I felt about Phantom Power, where it's like, yeah, I should like this. Everything about it I like, but it doesn't really come together in a way that is like great. This one came a lot closer to great to me. I think there's some really great moments on this. And I will say vocally, I like him a lot, just in general, not aside from this album, just across everything. He has that like tremolo effect that he puts on his voice, just naturally, like he does it with his vocals, that I like a lot. I think that's a really cool kind of signature move that he does. But yeah, all right, let us know, what are we missing with Super Furry Animals? Drop it in the comments. Let us know what you think of the record. Hit the like button, subscribe, and check out the Patreon if you'd be interested in picking a record for us to cover. There is a wait list, but we will get to everyone. Thanks for watching. We'll see you in the next one.